And I'm supposed to interview them for tomorrow night's or last night's show. And I don't really expect them to say anything other than, hey, we're all friends here and we're just happy and everything's going to be great. What they've done is the first Islamic tribunal, an actual court. This is not something like you have in your church. This is an actual court with judges. The first tribunal in American history is being set up just a few miles away from our studios in, of all places, Irving, Texas. And there is a real concerted effort by the Muslims to take this area and make it into Dearborn, Michigan. And I'm really not that interested in having my studios in Dearborn, Michigan. So this Islamic court is set up. And we have these, we have the imam and a doctor of Islamic law. He comes on, and the doctor doesn't say much during the interview.
For a long time.
For about 8 minutes. Mm-hmm. And the imam is just towing the line. And he is saying, all the right things. This is just about marriage, and this is no big deal, and we have no intention of, Sharia law is not what you think it is.
Denounced Hamas.
And it was at the denunciation of Hamas that the doctor then steps up. Mm-hmm. And here's what he says.
But Sharia, why the people afraid from Sharia? I'm sorry to say it, one point related to this. A cut head is not just in Sharia law, just in Islamic law. It's everywhere. Who said that just in Islamic law? That's even another Sharia, in Jew Sharia, in Christian Sharia, in American here, we cut head for some reason.
Just stop for just a second.
I cut heads off.
I don't think we cut heads off here in America, and
no.
I don't remember the Christian Sharia or the Jewish Sharia that is calling for the cutting off of heads.
I thought at first he said hands, the cutting off of hands. And so I thought, well, yeah, he's talking about the doctors before Obamacare.
That's right. But we stopped that.
Yeah. Thank heaven.
Yeah, no, he was talking about the cutting off of heads. And so
cutting off heads is in the Federalist Papers, though, right? That is.
Sure it is.
It's Federalist 63.
63.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That one was, I think John Jay.
So
wrote that one.
So again, I want to get back to the point that he just said. Why is everybody afraid of Sharia law? Cutting off of heads is not just Islamic. That happens with Christians. That happens with Jews. It happens here in America, where we cut off heads for a reason.
That's a good place to go early in the interview, I would say.
Yes, yeah. This is when the younger Glenn would have said, "Hold it just a second." The older Glenn said, "Mm-hmm," and let him go on because this was just the beginning.
So I'm asking you an easy question. If anyone kill another, he should get killed. By law, by Islamic law, by governor, he should get killed.
Okay, stop for a second. So he's asking us,
wrong with that?
He's asking us a simple question. Mm-hmm. Somebody who kills another, they should get killed, right? By Islamic law or by the governor. So he's clearly, I'm glad that
he's well versed.
He's well versed. I'm glad he has set up his own tribunal here in America. Mm-hmm. So he's well versed. So if you kill another, you should get killed. Right? It's an easy question, Stu. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Of course. Maybe he's like, let's give him a break. Maybe he's making the point of essentially the death penalty, which is something that, of course, we do accept.
And that's why the older Glenn yesterday said,
and he continued to talk.
If a thief jump, to your house, scare your wife, scare your children, scare your neighbor, and they did that with our stores, this is the law to cut his hand, because if he feels my hands will cut because of that, he will think about this 100 times.
So
that I believe.
Yeah. So
yes,
again,
he cut off his hand. He's going to think about that.
He's just
times.
making the point. If somebody comes into your house and scares your family, scares your wife, scares your neighbor, the law is that we cut off your hands. Because if you've cut off your hands, if we cut off your hands and he knows that it was cut off because he went into somebody's house and scared people,
he's going to think about that.
He'll think about it 100 times.
It's a good point.
Never do it. And if he do that one time, he will never do it again. Look how many millions of dollars American here on other states or other state outside spend for to keep the criminal in jail, or a lot of millions of dollars. We can't save that. Just let him go, and that's it. Because he did something wrong in the whole community, and they scared the whole community. Why not? So back, please, to the point. Islamic Tribunal. Yes, we never deal with anything of that. It is not. We don't have authority for that.
Okay, stop. So stop. So his point was, well, look how much money we'll save. Look, think about how much money we would save, because we don't have to keep them in jail. We cut their hands off, or we cut their head off. And if they lose their head, well, then we don't have to worry about it. If they cut their hands off, they'll never do it again. Think of the money we'll save. But I just want you to know this Islamic Tribunal has nothing to do with that. And so the other guy was making the case all the way through that Sharia law has nothing to do. Sharia law is not, it has nothing to do with the cutting off of hands or the heads.
You misunderstand Sharia law. He told you that
over and over again.
Times.
You misunderstand Sharia law. It doesn't call for any of that. That's not Sharia law. What's happening there is not Sharia law. Then the doctor pipes in and says, but what's wrong with it?
Right.
And he says, and that's the law. That's Sharia law. Mm-hmm. Do you happen to have the point where the imam claims that the Jews?
That's toward the end. We can get that.
Okay, so the imam, I said to him, because he kept quoting things from the Quran and all the great things in the Quran, and he said, what's in the Quran, and we have to follow these things because that's the holy word of God, and yada yada yada. And I said, it also says, if I'm not mistaken, in the Quran, that you should kill Jews, and that
trees and rocks
will cry out and say, "Oh, Abdullah, there's a Jew hiding behind me. Come kill." And he was adamant, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Not in the Quran.
Not in the Quran.
I defy you to show me that.
Show me
that in the Quran.
Show that. That's not.
And
that's
you said,
not
well,
in the Quran.
okay, is it in the Hadith? And he denied it was in the Hadith too. He said there were 23
Hadiths. And so you got to, it's not in the Hadith either. But I mean, there's 23 Hadiths, and some of them are just ridiculous. And well, it happens to be in the two most quoted and most used for Sharia law, the most credible Hadiths.
And it's in both of them.
Two of them. But he denied that was in the Hadith or in the Quran. And my question is, if you're going to deny what's in your own holy text, and this isn't the doctor of law or anything else. This guy is the imam. This is the guy who's memorized all these. This is the guy who says, I am an Islamic scholar on Sharia law because I'm the imam. So you come to me if you want to know what's in the Quran or in the Hadith. He denies that it was in the Hadith. It's in two of them. And they're the two most quoted for Sharia law. The biggest volumes of the Hadith. So they're in there. And he knew. And you can see it. You can see that he's lying. Why should we have anybody? Why should we deal with anyone on face value if they are, A, caught lying that quickly? Mm-hmm. Look, there's stuff in the Bible that says, an eye for an eye. Would you listen to me if I say it's not in the Bible? Yes, it is. Instead, the answer is yes. But there's been a reformation, and we no longer practice that. Instead, they're denying that even exists, assuming that a Western journalist isn't going to have any clue. And I didn't know that it was in the Hadith. I asked him. I thought it was in the Quran. It's in the Hadith.
You knew it was in the Hamas Charter.
I knew it was in the Hamas Charter.
Why it's well known.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And then they immediately, and that's what led us to the doctor jumping in because of Hamas. Because immediately the imam denies Hamas and says, I stand against Hamas. Well, the only problem with that is, in the Hadith and the Quran, you can lie. If you're speaking to an infidel, and you are in trouble, and you're going to hurt the cause of Islam, you can lie So I don't know if he's telling me the truth or not. It's a screwed up version of. I have to think out loud here. How do I say this? It's a screwed up version of principles. God doesn't tell you can lie. God doesn't tell you, hey, by the way, you're going to get caught trying to do some of my stuff. You go ahead and lie. I don't think that comes from God. I'm sorry. I don't think that comes from God. And so how are we to deal with this now in our community? Because they're now telling us that this is not going to affect anything but marriages. But if you listen to him on the marriages, here's the problem. If somebody is married under Islamic law, and you're in this Islamic community, if he doesn't give you a divorce, and one of the examples was somebody came over from, I don't remember which country. Somebody came over from this country, and she was married to this guy. She got asylum over here. Her husband didn't. It seemed like it was a pretty kind of a sham kind of marriage. And over there, by the way, you are given to your husband by the father. A contract is given at 7. You can be married at 9. And so it's not the same kind of marriage that we have over here. If she says she wants to get a divorce, there's no paperwork or anything, but she is married according to Islamic law. She can't go to the court here in the United States and get a divorce because there's no paperwork. So she's legally not married here. But she has to get a release for her life. She has to get a release from this imam. He said no, because I can't notify him. What's his address? And she said, well, he doesn't have an address. He has a goat and 2 donkeys. He doesn't have an address. Well, I can't notify him that his wife wants a divorce, so no divorce.
So he's a rich man. So now
what? Yeah. So now what does that mean? What does that mean for her? It means she is not divorced. So if she sleeps with another man, if she marries, if she decides, she is ostracized from the community. More importantly, she's now marked for honor killing. That's why divorce matters in these situations, because you can get a divorce legally through the court. But if these communities, and they are, what they're doing is they're going for the immigrant communities. So these people are coming over from all different parts of the world, and they don't know our system of justice. They don't know anything. And they're coming over here, and these courts are keeping them in the same kind of slavery that they were in overseas. This is wrong, and it needs to be stopped. We had the mayor of Irving on last night. She's great. She's against it. We had a guy who was one of the chief prosecutors under Sharia law in Iran. He was Muslim, so he knows this inside and out. He then left Islam and became a Christian, and he was persecuted and prosecuted under Sharia law for leaving the religion of Islam.
It's kind of interesting, too, because isn't the mayor of Irving is facing a lot of heat right now? She's being called a hate monger and all that kind of stuff because she's against this. Did you listen to those guys last night? Really? You're supposed to be for this in the United States of America? It's impossible.
And here's the thing. This is the war against women. This is the war on women. The ones who get hurt in this are women.
And it was interesting until the doctor spoke up, and the imam was talking and kind of filibustering for a really long time. He tried to make it sound like it was really good for women.
Yeah.
Did you get that impression too?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like ladies' night.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it is like ladies' night. It's a two drink special for chicks.
Oh, wow.
So then the doctor pipes up, and it's like, oh boy,
Oh, here it is.
This thing's an out of control freight train.